Hey, what's up, everybody? Larry the Batman fan here. I'm back with another video. I figured this would be an interesting topic to discuss since I'm a big fan of this type of genre of movies. And I haven't really talked about any movies lately, but I really do like action movies. They're really on my top list. For me, it goes action, then it goes comedy, then it goes sci-fi and war. And then the fifth spot would probably be like animation. I like some animated movies like Ice Age. The Emperor's New Groove was hilarious. And of course the classics by Disney like The Lion King, Mulan, and Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and stuff like Bambi and Lady and the Tramp and all those. Those are all good. And then like stuff by like DreamWorks like Shrek and Robots I thought were pretty good. But yeah, for the action movies, my top 20, it's going to be all off the top of my head. And I'm not going to say too much. I want to keep this video short. But here's my top 20. Excuse me. And a lot of these movies I do have, so I do know why they're good. Just throwing that out there. So number one for me is Terminator 2. Such a great sequel. I mean, a lot of sequels we've had in the past, they're kind of average or they suck, But Terminator 2 proved that a sequel could be done right, and it was really done well. It wasn't as scary as the first one. First one is like an action horror film. The second one is more like an action sci-fi film. But, when you stack it up amongst the other Terminator movies, it is definitely the best Terminator movie ever made. The only other Terminator movie besides the first one that I like is Dark Fate. That one's really good. I understand some people didn't like it, but I actually thought Terminator Dark Fate was really good. And Salvation, when it first came out, I thought was really good, but watching it recently doesn't hold up that well, to be honest. And Terminator Genisys flat out sucks. But yeah, Terminator 2 is number one, and it's really good. Chemistry between the robot, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and the two other characters, Sarah Connor and John, or Kyle Reese rather, is very good. And he does everything in his power to protect those two from the evil Terminator, the T-1000. So number two is Bad Boys. Bad Boys is a really good movie, good cop movie. There are 3 Bad Boys movies in the franchise. The first 2 are excellent. Third movie I thought was pretty good, but when you stack it up with the other 2, it blows the third one out the water. But I still liked the third film and thought it was pretty good. A good cop film with Martin Lawrence and Will Smith. Number 3 is Batman: The Dark Knight. You take the Heath Ledger guy and make him the Joker, and he just does so well. He perfected the role, and it's a shame because it's the last movie that he was in before his death. And Christian Bale does a pretty good job as Batman. It was a very believable tale, and the action in the scenes were excellent. Number 4 for me is The Raid. The Raid is an excellent movie with Iko Uwais. The Raid proved that he could be a good action movie star. It had tons of ass kicking in it, and lots of shooting, and just was a really good film overall. The premise of the movie is basically about a police force that goes into a gang member territory, and then just all hell breaks loose, and he loses most of his cop friends on the force, and he has to fight all these guys inside the building by himself. And he does it so well, kicking all of their butts in the movie. And it was really well done and lots of action. Number 5 is the original Terminator movie. I thought that was really good. A lot of good effects in it for its time in '84. Really action packed and really worth watching. And it ties into the horror genre as well. Number 6 on the list is Paycheck. Paycheck I thought was a pretty good movie with Ben Affleck. It's really the only action movie that he's done that has really turned out well for him, because Daredevil flat out sucked and his role in Batman really wasn't that great. And I don't really consider Infidel that much of an action movie. It had a little bit of action, but was more of a drama film about a Christian. It wasn't really action. But it was a really good film. Kind of had that like Minority Report vibe to it, and it worked well. Kind of mixed that with like Total Recall, but still obtained a PG-13 rating because there was no sexual content or nudity in the film. But it was pretty good, and I like it. I recommend it if you can find a copy. Number 7 is Pirates of the Caribbean. I'm going to say the third film, At World's End. Because I liked the first 2 films, but I thought At World's End was really where it started picking up and its quality more so than the first 2. But don't get me wrong, the other 2 were good, and the 4th and the 5th film were actually pretty good too. Although I will admit that the 5th film was kind of tiring the franchise out a bit though. Hopefully they don't make another one. They don't need another one. But the 3rd film was pretty good, and Johnny Depp plays a good pirate. You know, he's going around helping Will Turner and his girlfriend out, defeat a bunch of evil pirates. All in all, it's a pretty good action movie for Disney standards. I liked it. Number 8 is Dawn of the Dead, the remake. Excellent movie with Sarah Polley and Ving Rhames. The apocalypse just spreads throughout Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and infects anybody that's out in the streets or any zombies that are around. Her husband ends up dead because he gets killed by the neighbor's daughter who got infected. She was able to escape to a nearby mall along with a cop and a few other survivors, 3 other survivors. And when they get into the mall, they find a few survivors there, security guards. There were 4 of them, but one he turned. The other 3 were okay. And then they just, they're living inside the mall for a while until they start running out of supplies and want to go somewhere else. See if they could find another safe place. But an interesting state of events, unfortunate state of events happens. It's a really good action horror film, and I recommend it. Number 9 is Mission Impossible 4 Ghost Protocol. Out of all the Mission Impossibles I've seen, Mission Impossible 4 came out when I was getting out of high school, and I saw it and I was like blown away by how damn good the movie was. I was like, wow, Tom Cruise really can make a 4th film on this franchise and actually succeed. That's why he keeps making Mission Impossible movies, because it's his most popular role. It's so good. And that movie was just so good that it went on to make Mission Impossible 5 Rogue Nation and Mission Impossible 6 Fallout, and the new Mission Impossible movie which just came out. He's really good at Mission Impossible. Ethan Hunt plays an MI6 agent. It's good. Number 10 is GoldenEye. GoldenEye makes the list for James Bond. Various reasons why. It's excellent. They made a licensed game on N64. And even though that game came out in 97, 2 years after the movie, I still play that game to this day because it's that damn good of a first-person shooter. And it's so much fun. And it outsold the movie, but the movie was just as good as the game. The game was obviously a little bit better than the movie, which was rare for a licensed game, but it was just an excellent game and an excellent movie. I highly recommend it. Number 11 for me has to be Enemy of the State. Enemy of the State's a good movie with Will Smith. That's an underrated movie. I highly recommend it if you like that movie. There were these people that put stuff in the guy's shoes and another guy played by Gene Hackman. They have to kind of work together, even though they don't really know each other that well or like each other. And so they're forced to work together to find out who's like putting all these trackers in their clothing. It was cool. Highly underrated. I think we're on number 12 now. Oh no, number 13. I'll add an extra movie if I miscounted. Number 13 would have to be Avengement with Scott Adkins. I mean, Scott Adkins was a total badass in that movie. Just goes into a bar, talks to people for a few minutes, starts whooping all sorts of ass. I mean, he really proved that he could be a good action movie star in his movies, and did very well. Number 14, I believe we're on, or 15. I'm going to put a Steven Seagal movie up here, because I feel like that's necessary. I'm going to say... What did I say? I'm going to go with The Glimmer Man from 1996, because I really like that movie. I thought that was a really good movie. But don't get me wrong, there is some other Steven Seagal movies that are really good, such as Hard to Kill, Urban Justice, Above the Law, Under Siege 1 and 2, and Belly of the Beast. But The Glimmer Man is about two cops that are like fighting crime in a city filled with like drug cartels and, you know, wicked people. And it works pretty well with him and Damian Wayans working together as cops to defeat the bad guys. I liked it. I thought it was a good movie. I recommend anybody who hasn't seen it, check it out, because it was pretty good. Alright, so now we're, I believe, on number 16. Number 16 will have to be Point Break, and that's the original, not the remake. The remake of the movie flat out sucked. But the original from 1991 with Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze was an excellent movie. It was about bank robbers trying to rob a bank, and they succeeded in robbing a bank. It was 3 or 4 of them robbing the bank. And they robbed 2 or 3 banks, and were doing so well until the cops started catching up with them and started picking them off one by one. I'm not going to spoil the ending, but it was a good movie, and I highly recommend it. Next is Hot Fuzz with Simon Pegg. Hot Fuzz was a pretty good action movie, lots of action, about a guy who's taking his job seriously along with his one cop friend, but the rest of the cops is they're not really taking their job seriously. They think everything's just peachy, everything's all hunky-dory. Come to find out there's a plot twist in the movie where they find out that one of those guys wasn't so innocent. In fact, there were several men that weren't so innocent. And they wanted to kill all these people and change the city, the town that they were living in. But he wasn't willing to act like a sissy cop. He was willing to take drastic action and act like a professional cop along with his friend. Whereas the rest of the cop team, the squad, didn't really do that. They were just sort of slacking. They just thought everything was cool when in reality it really wasn't. Nothing was quite what it seems. It was a good movie. Next will be Bullet with Steve McQueen. One of the only action movies that had that many car chases in a film, and it was just so well done. Next on the list is SpiderMan. I obviously had to put another comic book movie in here, and when I saw SpiderMan, I was just a kid. I was only 13 years old or 12 years old. My mom is a Christian, so growing up, my mom had a gripe with PG-13 and R movies for children. She would not let me see them, but she took me to see that movie, and I was just really surprised that she took me. But she knew I was a big fan of Spider-Man, and so she did. She took me to see it in the theater, and I loved it. And ever since that time, I've always been a fan of the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. But I still think that the first 2 were better than the third one. But I don't think the third one is bad. I just don't think that Topher Grace did a very good job as Venom. I like Tom Hardy better. But that aside, the first film was excellent, and I highly recommend it. And the last movie for the film that I'm going to put on the list that I think is worth watching, that I think is so underrated, not many people talk about it, is Attack the Block. Not many people talk about Attack the Block. It's about a group of gangsters who are living a normal life for a little while, but then these aliens come in, and then the aliens start attacking them, so they had to fight off the alien race. There was another movie very similar to it, The Darkest Hour, but that movie sucked. That movie was not good. But Attack the Block was another alien movie that was actually done pretty well. I recommend that alien movie. It's really good, a really good action movie. The gangsters really do work together well and are very believable teenagers, fighting off those aliens in the movie. It's a shame that it didn't get enough recognition and that it's considered underrated, but it's really good. So anyways, that's my list of action movies. There is some honorable mentions. I'll be sure to put them in the comments below. Please feel free to leave comments and tell me what your favorite action movies are. I'd love to hear, because I know there's a ton of them out there. Anyways, thank you for watching, and as always, Larry the Batman fan signing off. Peace.